What were your thoughts when you've heard that West Virginia was bringing Rich Rod back? Good move, bad move? What do you think?
Well, my initial thought was recycled candidates don't seem to work.
Mhm.
And I'm much more about that than me, but same thing with Scott Frost here in Florida with UCF, same type of thing. Mac Brown, right, at UNC, like I they usually do not work that well. But if I were to bet on one, I feel okay about Rich Rod. I really do. Just because we know what happened at Michigan, right? Duh. But he had a flash at Arizona, which Arizona has not done in a while.
Mhm.
Made Jacksonville State good, which is a thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to undersell that. So his success at West Virginia was clearly not a one-time flash in the pan, the stars align, and then he can't do
Mhm.
it again. That's not what it was. Um, can he be as good as he was? I don't know about that,
Right.
but I do think there's a when I compare it to other kind of recycled coaches, I think the floor is higher. I think the ceiling is still pretty good, but I think the floor there is higher than I might. The floor is higher after I thought about it than at first glance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think here's my thought because I was like you. I was like, man, bringing back a former coach. When you look at throughout history, it typically doesn't work. I was like you, but then when I looked at the candidate pool, and I'm like, okay, he's more qualified than that guy. He's more qualified than that guy. I really like this guy, but Rich Rod's got a better resume. And then you kind of start thinking maybe he is the guy. And then you add in the fact he's from West Virginia. He's coached at West Virginia. He has the backing of the boosters more than any of those others that coaches are going to bring, which is huge, I think. Pat McAfee is talking about him on his show all the time. We'll likely have him on his show a lot, I would imagine, or at least some throughout the season. That's going to help. And back to the conversation we had to start the show, public public notoriety, getting the brand out there, all that's important in today's landscape, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
if he can win, and then you have all the other stuff added on that, I think it was definitely the right move. And he is, because he's a West Virginian, he gets it. He knows the types of players that can win at West Virginia. Uh, at least I think he does. But if he can do similar to what Bill Snyder did, I think because his first run at Kansas State was a slightly better than his second run, but that second run was still pretty darn good.
and that first run at Kansas State, let's not minimize that. Like
Oh, it was
that is without hyperbole one
right.
of the best coaching jobs in
Yeah,
college football history, considering
absolutely.
how awful Kansas State was. For them to get to competent and obviously better than competent, that was remarkable. So yeah, like I think that's probably the best example. Where I don't know that they're going to be where they were, but if they can get to good and stay good, a notch below yours, I think that's a reasonable expectation. And you're exactly right on the booster support and all that stuff. That stuff absolutely matters. It matters in terms of the realignment, Super League, whatever it is, part that we were talking about. But it also matters, just throw that aside for a second. Money is, I don't want to say it's more important now than ever, but I think it's more tangible. The effects of money are
Mhm.
more tangible now than they
Right,
ever have been.
right.
Where like obviously Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame, they have really big budgets, they make a lot of money, they're able to buy the facilities and build the facilities and the best coaches, and they win a lot of football games. Okay, duh. But the way things are right now, with obviously there's the $20.5 million soft cap, revenue sharing, whatever you want to call that, the unofficial salary pool. And then we'll see what happens with the quote unquote legitimate NIL or real NIL and collectives and all that stuff
Mhm.
going forward. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but I would much rather be, again, Captain Obvious, I would much rather be a school that has more money than one that does not have money.
Right.
So I do think that's been more pronounced now. And Rich Rod bringing that in is a very important factor if you're considering, comparable candidates. And I think he has a higher floor than most of the other guys, or maybe all of the other legitimate contenders for West Virginia. So yeah, as we talk it through more, and as I've thought it through more since the hire, I think it was a good move. And but I'll also say this, just to continue talking out of both sides of my mouth, I have no idea. Like
No,
I gave up trying to figure out what hires are going to work. It's just there are so many factors. I thought Willie Taggart at Florida State was going to be a good one. It wasn't.
right.
Um, I, I had questions about Billy Napier. We'll see how that goes. I thought Mario Cristobal, when he got hired by Miami, I thought that was a home run. It hasn't been bad, but it certainly hasn't been a home run. So like I have no idea how this is going to shake out, and it's so hard to predict. So, but I would feel pretty good if I'm a West Virginia fan about where things are on the on-field perspective. Maybe not this year. Year ones are weird, right?
Mhm.
And the league's so topsy-turvy. But long term, I would feel, again, Rich is undefeated this year, but I would feel pretty good about things.
Yeah, I think that's where we are. Most fans are anyway. Can't speak for everybody. Obviously, everybody's going to have their different opinions, but I think if you polled the fan base today, I think most fans expect year one to be a little bumpy. If you make a bowl game, win 7 games, something like that, not a bad year for year one, considering you have 70 new players on the roster. 30% or 70% of your roster just about is
Right.
new. But year two, year three, and beyond, we're going to expect more than that, right? But I think that's kind of what they're trying to set the table for. Um, Now, Rich Rod, he'll tell you he wants to win now, which is obviously his job. But realistically, I think if you can make a bowl game in year one, especially with the schedule they have, I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. But year two, year three, let me go back up. As long as one of those wins is against Pitt, it's got to be Pitt.
So I was at ACC kickoff, was that
Hmm.
a week and a half ago now.
Yep.
It was, I enjoyed talking to the Pitt players and asking them specifically about the backyard brawl. That is not a game I have covered. I would absolutely love to. I don't care if it's at Pitt or in Morgantown, either one. It's not going to happen this year, but someday I absolutely want to do that one. But yeah, it was great talking to them about it to see how much hatred they have for
Hmm.
West Virginia, and knowing that if I were to have that same conversation on the other side, it would be
Yep.
it would be
Yep.
mutual. And like, there's so much crap going on in college football, right? Like the fact that we spent 25 minutes or whatever talking about private equity and
Hmm.
like all that stuff. That's not why I got into the sport. That's not why
Right.
you're a fan. That's not why you watching or listening, whoever you are. I'm sure you weren't in it to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see how much money our team makes this year. Yeah, no, it's because of games like Pitt, West Virginia, right, where the two teams hate each other and their fans interact at the grocery store, and you see, right, like there's a house across the street from me with a house divided Florida, Georgia, like sign out in
Hmm.
front. That's what makes this fun. And that's
Yep.
what makes it so I'm willing to, and you are willing to, and you listening are willing to put up with all the other crap. Because you know that come a Saturday in the fall, my team is going to go up against your team, and it's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun to watch. And
Yep.
hopefully I win, so I get to brag about it in the Slack
Yep.
channel at work or whatever, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's that. I just really hope we never lose sight of that, man. That's because at the end of the day, all the other minutia, all the other junk that we talk about or write about or whatever, once the ball's kicked off, we care about one thing, and that's my team beating your team
Yep,
and who comes out on top. And because we cheer for the name across, I say this a lot. I'm all about the name on the going across the front of the jersey more so than anything else. And that's who we cheer for at the end of the day.
for sure. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it so
Absolutely.
much more fun than the NFL to me,
And
right?
that's
Is
and
the passion
yep,
and everything else. I've covered plenty of Bucks and Rays and Lightning games. Put me in the swamp. It's so much different, right?
yep,
And I know it's the same at West Virginia, and I've seen it at Oklahoma State, all sorts of other places.
yep. I just hope the professionalization of college sports doesn't ruin that long term. You know, I
That
think
is a that's a different conversation, but that is definitely a concern that I have, right? Where if it's the idea of a super league sounds great in a lot of ways, or even if it's just a different looking power to it, it sounds great. But if part of that means giving up Pitt, West Virginia, or playing Florida, Tennessee every 3 years instead of every year, right?
mhm,
Or pick your example and stuff that we've seen before, or pull it out of a hat, right? That's where that's where we get into trouble. And my hope is that the powers that be understand that, because will I watch USC and Penn State or whatever? Yeah, but it's better if it's USC, Notre Dame, two teams that have played a zillion times and don't like each other, or if it's USC, UCLA, where the fans interact, right? you have to remember the regionality and the rivalries, because the further, that's what most of us, I think, fell in love with. And the further you get away from that, the further you risk ruining what makes the sport great, and then alienating the fans that love this and have been the lifeline. That's where it gets scary.
Yep. Agreed.